The fire crackled merrily, casting dancing shadows on the faces of two best friends, Lucy and Emma. They were on a remote vacation, seeking solace in a secluded cabin nestled amidst towering mountains. It was the perfect getaway, or so they thought. Days turned into a peaceful routine. They'd hike through nature, returning to the cabin to cook meals and share stories as the sun dipped below the horizon. The mountain air was crisp and clean, the stars impossibly bright. Life, for the moment, was good. But as the first night deepened into an inky black void, the tranquility of their surroundings was shattered. Soft whispers seemed to slither through the trees, brushing against the cabin like icy fingers. Lucy and Emma, snuggled deep in their blankets, dismissed it as the wind playing tricks. But the wind couldn't explain the strange, dark shapes that flitted past the windows, or the feeling of being watched. Then the unsettling incidents began to escalate. A necklace that Lucy had left on her nightstand vanished only to reappear days later dangling from the cabin's chandelier. Emma's journal, which she had left open on a chair, was found ripped and scattered across the floor, its pages filled with disturbing illustrations of gnarled, skeletal trees. Lucy and Emma decided to explore the nearby trails, hoping to distract themselves from the unnerving events at the cabin. But the forest seemed to mock them. Every turn they took led them back to where they started. Trails that appeared solid under their boots dissolved into swamps of thick black mud. Once they even swore they saw a twisted version of themselves reflected in a pool of water, their own eyes gleaming with a predatory light from beneath the surface. As dusk settled, the forest took on a sinister quality. The playful whispers from earlier now sounded like taunts, like laughter. That night, huddled together, Lucy and Emma swore they heard the sound of footsteps pacing just outside their cabin, accompanied by a low, guttural growl that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the cabin. The nights that followed were filled with terrifying events. Doors slammed shut on their own, objects flew across the room, and ghastly visions flickered at the edge of their sight. Fear, a tangible entity, seemed to seep into their bones, coiling there like a venomous snake. Lucy and Emma knew they had to escape, but every time they reached for the doorknob, their hands would be met with a wall of impenetrable darkness. The forest, it seemed, was determined to keep them trapped. On the fourth night, as the full moon hung like a watchful eye in the sky, the presence in the cabin grew bolder. A rocking chair in the corner of the room began to rock slowly, then faster, faster, until it was a blur. The fire, which had burned steadily since their arrival, sputtered and died, plunging the room into total darkness. And then they heard it, a voice, raspy and ancient, whispering right by their ears. "Leave," it hissed, "and you will never find your way out." Terror lent speed to their flight. They stumbled out of the cabin and into the forest, branches whipping at their faces, thorns tearing at their clothes. The trees, once silent, now seemed to writhe and twist, forming a labyrinth of darkness that closed in around them. Just when their hope was almost extinguished entirely, a faint light appeared in the distance, a beacon in the all-consuming darkness. With a final burst of energy, they stumbled towards it, desperate to escape the clutches of the night. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The forest light faded, leaving them in darkness once more. The voice echoed in their ears, amusement dripping from every word. "You may leave this place," it said, "but you cannot escape what awaits you in the darkness." Emma and Lucy looked at each other, their faces pale, their eyes wide with terror. They had escaped the cabin, but they had not escaped the darkness. For the darkness, they realized, was not in the forest. It was within the walls of the cabin itself, an ancient evil presence that fed on their fear, a malevolent spirit that had watched them, stalked them, tormented them for days. And as they stood there, trapped in its clutches, they knew that no matter where they went, the darkness would always be waiting, patient, eternal, ready to claim them as its own.